can go back and make a brand new start, but anyone can start from now, from wherever you are, and make a brand new ending. Yes, all you need is first believe in yourself. Unless and until you believe that you can do it, how will you do it? Second, you should have a correct plan. You should be on the right road to reach the goal where you want to go. Third, you should have a very concentrated mind. And fourth, you should have a lot of love so that you can continue with the same vigor. You have to continue with the same vigor, not on the first day, not on the second day, but till the last day. These are the ingredients for success, no wherever you start. If you have these, then you can make a brand new ending. Just check for yourself. Do you have it? If not, you are the pilot of your life. Bring it. Make it happen. So now we start with the hearing rehabilitation. Now, yes, it is very, very commonly asked in your exams. And yes, this is a very important part of managing ear conditions because, yes, we are treating diseases of the ear. But what is ear for? Ear is for hearing. It is a sense organ which connects it to the outside. So if we just remove the disease and we do not give hearing to the patient, we have not solved our purpose. So it is very, very important to remove the disease, yes, at the same time to give hearing to the patient. So what are the different modes of hearing rehabilitation we have? So the first thing that we will do is the most important, and that is cochlear implant. So cochlear implant is the first artificial sense organ. Yes, the sense organ of hearing. It replaces the sense organ of hearing. What's the sense organ of hearing? The organ of Corti. So it is the first artificial sense organ and it was invented by Dr. William F. House. William F. House, because of which he is also considered as the father of neurootology. Father of neurootology. So it is replacing what? It replaces the organ of Corti, which means that in which person will we like to put a cochlear implant? If anybody just comes to you and asks you that, for example, your grandfather or any person who has just read about this, heard about it and asks you that, see, my child is deaf, or your grandfather tells you that, see, I have just heard that something like this with which we can start hearing has been discovered. So can I put it for myself or can we put it for my child? So what do you need to know here? In which patient can you put cochlear implant? We know that cochlear implant replaces what? It replaces the organ of Corti, which means in any patient, if the organ of Corti is defective, only then you can put it. Second, in any patient who has a defect of organ of Corti, can we put it? How much should be the defect? If there is only little defect, can we go for cochlear implant? No. How much is the defect? So these are the two important things that we should know whenever we are putting cochlear implant. First, whether it is a defect involving the organ of Corti or not. Yes. So the first thing is patient has come to you with hearing loss and you have found out that the patient has what hearing loss? Patient has a sensorineural hearing loss. Yes. So now you want to confirm that this is because of a defect of organ of Corti. Defect of organ of Corti. How can you find out that this is a defect of the organ of Corti? Yes, that we can find out by a few tests. Tell me, you will tell me which names of two tests with which you can find out the inner ear, the functioning of the cochlea or not. Cochlea is the organ of Corti, yes. So tell me, in the cochlea we want to test the organ of Corti. So yes, by autoacoustic emission. Yes, no. Very good. Autoacoustic emission, that will tell you about the activity of the outer hair cells. That is an indirect indication of the functioning of the organ of Corti. And very good, Bera. This will tell you whether the defect is cochlear or retrocochlear. So any person who has come to you with hearing loss and you have confirmed that this patient has a sensorineural hearing loss, in that patient you will first find out whether the organ of Cotta is defective or not. So if the defect is at the level of organ of Cotta, only then we can go for cochlear implant. Second, the organ of Cotta is being replaced by cochlear implant. So now the cochlear implant replaces the organ of Cotta. Instead of organ of Cotta, we have cochlear implant, and this will now send the impulses directly to nerve, which means the nerve should be functional. Yes or no? Yes. So there has to be a defect of organ of Cotta first. Second, the nerve has to be functional. Nerve is functional. And how much defect? How much defect? How much defect of organ of Cotta? That you will think that yes, I can go for cochlear implantation. Little defect, moderate defect, severe defect, how much? Yes, so it has to be bilateral, severe to profound sensorineural hearing loss. Yes, so what is severe to profound? What is severe hearing loss? So it is more than 70 decibel hearing loss in all frequencies, and more than 90 decibel is what is profound. More than 90 decibel hearing loss in 2000 and 4000 hertz. So this is severe to profound hearing loss. So if by chance in your choice is given severe hearing loss and profound hearing loss at different choices, what will you choose? Severe hearing loss. Bilateral severe hearing loss. So it has to be in both the ears. Both the ears. If there is 1 ear severe to profound hearing loss, then this is an invasive surgery. So if only 1 ear is defective, 1 ear is functional, and there are so many people who function only with 1 ear. So as of now, unilateral has not yet been approved, though there are many people who are doing it, who are getting it done, but it has not been approved as of now. So yes, it is bilateral severe to profound sensorineural hearing loss, and that is because of a defect of organ of Cotta, and also the nerve is functional. So this is what is the indication of cochlear implant. Cochlear implant. It has to be bilateral, profound to severe to profound hearing loss, and that is because of organ of Cotta. So what are the other things that we have to take care while we are doing cochlear implantation? What are the other considerations that we have to notice? So yes, nerve status should be good. The nerve has to be functional. This we have already dealt with. Nerve has to be functional. What age should we go for cochlear implant? Yes, so the hearing loss is of two types. It can be either prelingual or postlingual. What's the meaning of prelingual deafness? Prelingual means that the child is born deaf. The child never learned how to speak. It is prelingual. So in kids who are prelingually deaf, means who are born deaf, in them the hearing rehabilitation or the cochlear implantation has to be done as early as 1 year. So in prelingual, we have to give hearing as early as 1 year. This does not mean that at 1 year you are giving cochlear implantation. Before that you will not give any rehabilitation. You have to give whatever possible. You give hearing aid, any possible hearing rehabilitation you have to give to the child, so that the hearing development is occurring. This will not be the first rehabilitation that you are giving only at 1 year. Yes, so before that also you give hearing aid, but only when the child is 1 year, now the tissues are developed enough that you can go for a cochlear implantation. And what if there is a prelingually deaf child and the child is now 12 years and the parents are getting to you that, okay, we just came to know that something like this is there and a child is deaf. So why don't you put in a child? Will you put in that child who is prelingually deaf? No. Why? Because the hearing center is maximally active at 3 years. Beyond that, if you do, you have to give the hearing as early as possible so that the language development, understanding, all that develops. Now, if you have not given any rehabilitation up till 7 years of age, then the neural interconnections will not develop if you give after that. So that is why if it is a prelingually deaf child and up till 7 years, no rehabilitation has been given, cochlear implant After 7 years, makes no sense. It will just give hearing, but language development, understanding, nothing will be possible. So it is 1 year to up till 7 years. Now, what is postlingual? Postlingual means that the child developed learning, child developed hearing, child had hearing, okay, and the child developed language. The child knows how to speak, but suddenly something happened that the child became deaf. For example, meningitis. Meningitis, following which there developed labyrinthitis and the child is now bilaterally deaf. Or maybe in elderly, there is presbycusis, and in both the ears there is bilateral profound hearing loss. So this patient knows how to speak already. He had developed speech. He knows understanding. He knows everything about speech. So now in this patient, when should we put? So in these patients, the hearing rehabilitation with cochlear implant, if has to be given, has to be done as early as possible, which means that whenever the hearing loss is developed, you have to replace the hearing as early as possible. Auditory deprivation should not be very long, otherwise the nerves stop functioning. So the auditory deprivation should not be very long. It has to be as early as possible. So here then age will not hold any significance. It can be any age, but as early as possible, after the patient has developed hearing loss. And yes, always you have to give a hearing aid trial. Hearing aid trial of at least 3 months has to be given before you go for cochlear implantation. This is an invasive surgery. If the patient is benefiting by hearing aid, then why not go for hearing aid? Usually hearing aids do not benefit above 70 decibel. Above 70 decibel, 80 decibel, the hearing aids gain is not too much. It is not very good. So if it is bilateral, severe to profound hearing loss, in that case where the hearing is not being benefited by hearing aid, then you can go for cochlear implantation. And yes, very important, the child should be mentally and physically stable. The child has to be mentally and physically stable. Just putting a cochlear implant, implanting the implant will not make the child learn how to speak. You have to give a very vigorous training after that. So that will not be possible in a child who is not mentally stable and who cannot take care of the cochlear implant, not physically stable. So then you do not go for cochlear implant. So these are the considerations that you will see before you go for a cochlear implantation. So now this is how the cochlear implant looks like. This is the external component of the implant. So in the external component, we have this. This is what is known as the microphone. What the microphone does is it picks the sound. It will pick the sound. It will pick sound. Then it will send to the speech processor. So this here is the speech processor. What the speech processor will do is it will convert the sound. It will convert sound into digital impulses. And now this speech processor will send the sound, which is the digital impulses, to this. What is this? This is, I will mark the microphone as 1, the speech processor as 2, and this as 3. Now what is this? This is what is known as a transmitter coil. So this will send it to 3, that is the transmitter coil. What the transmitter coil does is, as the name, transmitter coil. So it is transmitting the digital impulses inside to the component of the cochlear implant which is present inside, that is below the skin, and it is attached to this area to the receiver which is present below the skin through a magnet. Now let us see how the internal device looks like. So the internal device, as we can see here, is placed under the skin. This part is what is known as receiver stimulator. Now what this receiver stimulator, this is the receiver stimulator. What this receiver stimulator does is it converts the digital impulses into electrical impulses. So it will convert digital signals to electrical impulses. And these electrical impulses will now be sent through this part of the internal device, which is known as electrode. Electrode has been asked 3 times consecutively in your exam, which is the external part of the cochlear implant, which is the internal part of the cochlear implant. So in the internal part, we have the receiver stimulator and we have the electrodes of the cochlear implant. The electrodes of the cochlear implant, as you can see here, they are passed through the mastoid into the middle ear. So if they are passed from the mastoid into the middle ear, they are passed by making an opening on, yes, the posterior wall. Where is that opening made? That is made in the facial recess area. So once they are into the middle ear, they are now passed into the inner ear. So into the inner ear through which window? Oval window or round window? Yes, through the round window. Where are they placed in the inner ear? If they are being passed through the round window, all this you will answer, yes. If they are being passed through the round window, where in the inner ear are they going? Yes, the round window is covered by secondary tympanic membrane. That gives you the hint of the name. It is connecting middle ear to which part? Scala tympani. So it will go into the scala tympani. It will replace the organ of Corti there and it will directly stimulate the nerve which was starting from the organ of Corti. So what we need to know here is it is passed into the middle ear through the facial recess. Facial recess on the posterior wall. It is passed into the inner ear through round window. It is placed in the scala tympani. Scala tympani. It replaces the organ of Corti. It stimulates the nerve. So yes, all these have been your questions. Can we do cochlear implantation in Mondini-aplasia? If you remember, yes, what is Mondini-aplasia? Mondini-aplasia is that the cochlea has only 1.5 turns. So can we do it? Yes, at least cochlea is present. So there we can put. So yes, we can put cochlear implantation. In Michael-aplasia, what is Michael-aplasia? Michael-aplasia is total absence of membranous and bony cochlea, bony labyrinth. So it is total absence of membranous as well as bony labyrinth, absence of inner ear, complete. So here, can you put cochlear implant if there is no inner ear? Where will you put it? So no, you cannot put it here. You cannot put it in Michael-aplasia. So let us quickly see how we do the surgery. Before we see the surgery video, I will explain it to you. And yes, till now you must have understood it very, very nicely. We have done it so many number of times, but again, I will just repeat it quickly here. So here is the external auditory canal. So we have seen that this is like 2 halls. This is the posterior hall, which is the mastoid. This is the mastoid and this is the anterior hall. The anterior hall is separated by a curtain into 2 rooms. One is lateral, that's the external auditory canal. The other is medial, that is the middle ear. So what we do is we first drill the mastoid, we reach up till the antrum. Now once we have reached up till the antrum, what we do is the electrodes. We place the receiver stimulator complex here and now the electrodes we pass into the mastoid and then from the mastoid we have to pass it into the middle ear. Yes, so for that we will make an opening in the facial recess area. Where is the facial recess area? Can you quickly tell me the boundaries? Yes, it is bounded medially by the descending part of the facial nerve, laterally by the chorda tympani and superiorly by the short process of Inca. So just below that we will make an opening and through which we will pass the electrodes. Now when we pass the electrodes through here, we will be this area. Yes, now just see here, this is the middle ear that you are seeing. We know whenever we have drawn the medial wall of the middle ear, we know this is anterior and this is posterior in this patient. So this here is the face. Yes, this is the mastoid here. So that is posterior. Here is the mastoid. So this is posterior. So here where will we see the oval window and the round window? Yes, so we have the oval and the round windows posteriorly. So this is the oval window and this is the round window. So if we are making an opening on the posterior wall here, so if we are making opening in the facial recess, this area will be very clearly visible. This area of the middle ear will be very, very clearly visible to us. So here directly the electrodes we can pass through the facial recess into the round window and through the round window into the inner ear. So if, yes, the patient is lying down, so this is the appearance that you will see. So you will see the mastoid like this and the facial recess opening you will make in this wall, which is the common wall between the mastoid and the middle ear. So now let us see. Yes, this is exactly where you make the facial recess, and the boundaries are medially the descending part of the facial nerve, laterally the chorda tympani, and superiorly through the antrum opening which you have, through the additus which you have widened, you are able to see the incus short process which is projecting on the posterior wall as fossa on the fossa incutis. This part you will preserve. You do not want to dislocate the incus, so you make an opening below that. So now let us see. So this is what we have started. The patient is lying down. Let me orient you first. So here this is the external auditory canal. And when I go further medially, that will be the middle ear. So this is the mastoid which I have drilled. I have reached up till the mastoid antrum. And here this is the posterior wall of the middle ear. This is the posterior wall of the middle ear. Here I will see the connection between the mastoid and the middle ear. That is the additus. Through additus, I will be able to see the incus. So I will see where the short process of incus is coming. Wherever the short process of incus is coming, that part I will leave because that is the fossa incutis. Below that, I will make an opening in the posterior wall in the facial recess. So it will appear something like this. So now let us see. When I progress doing the surgery, yes, this is exactly what I drew for you, that this is the antrum connection with the middle ear, that is the additus, which I have widened. And when I have widened, I am able to see this incus here. The short process projecting posteriorly, this is the fossa incutis which I have left behind, and below that the opening has been made. This is the area of the facial recess through which you can see, this is the oval window superiorly, and here you can see the round window. So very easily you can pass the cochlear implant electrodes, as you are seeing here, being passed in through the facial recess into the round window, through the round window into the scala tympani. So quickly keep your pens down. Yes, cochlear implant was invented by. Yes, that was a question of your exam. Yes, William F. House. Cochlear implant replaces what? Organ of Cotta. Stimulates what? The nerve. So what is the indication of cochlear implant? How much should be the hearing loss? Bilateral, severe to profound, sensorineural hearing loss because of involvement of, yes, the organ of Corti. So the cochlear implant, what should be the age? Earliest it can be put at 1 year of age. Should a hearing aid trial be given before that? Yes, at least for how much time? At least for 3 months. Cochlear implant is passed into the middle ear through facial recess, into the inner ear through round window, through the round window. Now let us quickly see a video of cochlear implant being done. Before we have a look at the surgical videos of the mastoid surgeries, the intact canal wall, the canal wall down, just a word of caution for all my dear students. There was a request from all of your side that we want to see how surgeries of ear are being done. And I have placed these videos. I have made this effort to place it so that you can see how it is done. But yes, the surgeries of mastoid, the surgeries of the ear, the anatomy of the ear, when you really have a look endoscopically, the surgeries of the ear, when you have a look, they are not easy to understand. It is not something like you've opened the abdomen, you can see the liver, you can see the spleen, you can see the intestines. It is not like that. They are very, very difficult to understand, to get oriented to, and to identify. So if you think that just by having a look at it for the first time, you will be exactly able to orient yourself and understand each and every bit of it very clearly, that is expecting a little too much. So don't worry, just have a look. Now let us quickly see how cochlear implantation is done. This is cochlear implantation being done in the right ear of the patient. Let me orient you first. So that is the superior end, the upper end. And this is the lower end, the mastoid tip area. This is the mastoid, so this is posterior and that is anterior. So let us see. Yes, the initial steps are the same. We give the post-oral incision. We drill up till the mastoid. Once we have reached the mastoid antrum, we can see there, we can identify that opening between the communication between the mastoid and the middle ear. Yes, that is the additus. Very important is to identify the landmarks before you just make an opening in the facial recess area. So yes, we have seen there where the suction is. That is the area of the short process of incus, which is projecting posteriorly on the posterior wall. We can see, so this area of the posterior wall of the middle ear will be the area of the fossa incudis. We know that the facial recess is below that, so we will be making an opening below that in the facial recess area. So we can see that we have magnified it very nicely so that we can clearly see the opening of the round window through the opening of the facial recess area. We are making an opening in the facial recess area to visualize the round window. Ultimately, we will have to pass the electrodes through the mastoid into the middle ear, and from the middle ear through the round window into the inner ear. So there is no hurry. You have to identify the landmarks. You have to drill up till you see everything very, very clearly. Can you tell me the boundaries of the facial recess? Yes, medially we have the vertical segment of the fallopian canal of the facial nerve. Laterally we have the chora tympana, and superiorly is the fossa incudis. Yes, can you see that suction going there? That is the area of the round window inside. Yes, can you see that drill? Yes, the suction, where the suction is, that is the area, the opening of the round window. So here we have the internal component of the cochlear implant, the receiver stimulator, along with the electrodes of cochlear implant. This is what is known as the internal component. We are placing the receiver stimulator in a fossa that we have made in the bone there. And now the electrodes we are passing through the mastoid, through the opening that we have made of the facial recess, and it is being passed through the round window. You can see that it is being passed through the round window. Where in the inner ear is it going? Yes, through the round window. So it is being placed in the scala tympani. From there it will replace the organ of Corti, and it will directly stimulate the cochlear nerve. So once we have passed the electrodes, this opening that we have made in the facial recess area, we are just packing it with the gel foam. So once we have placed the electrodes, now we are going to close the defect. So we will close this defect. As you can see here, yes, we are also covering the receiver stimulator complex and the mastoid that we have opened, which contains the electrodes. So you can see that we have covered the receiver stimulator complex, and now we are suturing the skin. The post-oral incision that has been given will be sutured now. So now the post-oral incision has been sutured very beautifully, and this is how we suture back the ear whenever we have completed either laryngoplasty that we have gone through the post-oral route, or the mastoid surgeries, or the cochlear implantation. So I hope you now have understood very clearly how we place the cochlear implant, and this is absolutely clear in your mind now. Now, what if in any child or in any patient, the organ of Corti is not functioning, but along with that, the nerve is also not functional? If the nerve is also not functional, can you then go for cochlear implant? No, it will be useless. So in that case, what should we go for? So in that case, when we want to replace the nerve also, we want to now bypass the cochlea as well as the nerve, and we directly want to stimulate the cochlear nucleus. Then we go for a device which is known as auditory brainstem implant, or ABI. So what is ABI? ABI is auditory brainstem implant. Auditory brainstem implant. And when are we going to put it? Yes, we are going to put it either when bilateral cochlea is missing, that is aplasia, where you cannot put a cochlear implant. There is no space, even if the nerve is there. There is no space to put the cochlear implant. Or in bilateral nerve defect, nerve aplasia, or bilateral nerve damage, like in patients of NF2, neurofibromatosis type 2, they have bilateral acoustic neuroma. So when we operate them, if there is damage to the nerve bilaterally, these are patients who are young. We do not want to operate on the tumors and make them deaf for life. So in them, we can go for auditory brainstem implant. And where do we place it. This is placed in the lateral recess of fourth ventricle. Again, this was a question of your exam. Lateral recess of fourth ventricle. Of fourth ventricle, it replaces the nerve. What does it stimulate? Yes, it stimulates directly the cochlear nuclei. This is how it looks like. The external component looks exactly like cochlear implant. So if somebody is wearing it, you cannot differentiate whether this is a cochlear implant or this is a ABI. The only difference is in the inside. See, the external component is the same. In the internal component, the stimulator, the electrodes are passed up till this area. What is this? This is the lateral recess of fourth ventricle. Whereas in cochlear implant, we were passing it through the middle ear into the inner ear through the round window. Whereas here it is placed in the lateral recess of the fourth ventricle. Now, if this is the child who has come to you, yes, and this is a child where you want to give hearing rehabilitation, he cannot afford a reconstruction of the pinna, or he does not want to get a reconstruction of the pinna done. What hearing rehabilitation can you give this child? Can we go for a cochlear implant in this child? Where is the defect? Is the cochlea, the organ of Corti, defective here? No. So will the cochlear implant be of any benefit to the child? What is normal already? Why you are replacing that? And that will anyway will not be of benefit. That is already normal. Yes, so here we want to replace the external part of the ear. So for external part of the ear, what we can do is we can go for a hearing aid. Yes or no? Yes. Can we go for a in the canal hearing aid in this child? Or can we go for a behind the ear hearing aid in this child? Just have a look at this child. Where will we place the behind the ear component? Where will we place the in the canal component? Not possible. So here a normal conventional hearing aid is not possible. So in these patients, what we can go for a hearing aid which is anchored behind the pinna, and that is what is known as Baha. So we can go for something like this. This is what is known as Baha. What is Baha? Baha is known as a hearing aid which is anchored to bone. So it is a bone anchored hearing aid. Bone anchored hearing aid. So when will we go for a bone anchored hearing aid? Here we saw that we are going for bone anchored hearing aid because the pinna is malformed. Now in this patient, the pinna is good. Still Baha. Why? Yes, so what are the indications when we can go for bone anchored hearing aid? First, when a normal conventional hearing aid cannot be used. For example, if there is congenital deformities of external ear, or when a normal conventional hearing aid cannot be worn. For example, if there is continuously discharging ears which have been treated but the discharge does not stop, discharging ears operated but the discharge does not stop. There are certain cases. So then in discharging ears, you cannot put a normal conventional hearing aid. If you put the hearing aid inside, then what will happen is that will lead to blockade of the ear. That will again make the ear discharge. And also if you put in the canal inside, again that will cause blockade and discharge again. And also if the hearing aid gets moist, it will stop functioning. You have to prevent it from moisture, the hearing aid. Yes. So in discharging ears, we cannot close the ears, and what will happen? Again, the ear will discharge. And also in patients in whom we have done a MRM. What is MRM? Is it a canal wall down or an intact canal wall surgery? It is a canal wall down. So we have made such big external aortic canal. We have made a big mastoid cavity now. Yes. So in this, a normal conventional hearing aid cannot be worn. So in following MRM, if there is a big mastoid cavity, you have made a big mastoid cavity. So there again a normal conventional hearing aid cannot be used. And again a very, very important indication of this Baha is in single ear deafness, single side deaf, and also in unilateral deaf ear. It means unilateral deaf ear. Why in unilateral deaf ear we are using it? Yes. So if the patient's one ear is totally not functioning. Now suppose in this ear, this is the deaf ear. So what will happen if we put a Baha here? It will collect the sound and it will vibrate the skull. So when it vibrates the skull only, it does not transmit sound to this cochlea. When it vibrates the skull, the other cochlea also gets stimulated. So it will pick up the sound from this side and it will transmit it to the other side so that the other cochlea picks it up. So the patient will have a better localization of the sound, a better three-dimensional perception of the sound. Even the sound that is coming from this ear will be perceived. So that is again another very important indication for Baha. Now let us see what the parts of Baha are. So Baha basically has three parts. The first part is the one that we put into the skull bone. This is what is known as the implant, or it is known as the fixture. The second part is a connector which connects the implant to the sound processor. This is what is known as abutment. The connector is what is known as abutment. So this implant or the fixture is passed into the bone and it gets one with the bone, it gets osseointegrated and it sends the vibrations directly into the inner ear. So it bypasses the external ear. Directly the sound is picked and it stimulates the inner ear. So whenever there is any external defect, whenever we want to replace the external ear, the pinna or the external auditory canal, we can go for Baha. So what is the age criteria for implanting this? Yes, the skull thickness has to be at least so much that the implant or the fixture can be put, and that usually occurs by more than 3 years. According to the US FDA guidelines, it should be done at or more than 5 years of age, whereas if at 3 years also, if the thickness of skull has been developed, that fixture can be put, it can be put. But if in your exam it is asked specifically, then we have to mark more than 5 years. Also, what we are doing here is that we are directly stimulating the inner ear. We are stimulating the inner ear, which means that the inner ear has to be functional. If in anybody inner ear is not functional and you are putting an implant here and you are expecting the inner ear to respond, yes, so will it respond? No. So if you are putting it to stimulate that particular inner ear, then the inner ear should be functional. How do we know that? Yes, so the sensorineural hearing loss should not be more than 45 decibel. It should be less than or equal to 45 decibel. Even if you're stimulating the other ear, so the other inner ear should be good. Only then there is the role of putting this Baha. In patients in whom the external ear is well developed, in them, if there is a conductive hearing loss or if there is a sensorineural hearing loss which is not severe and profound, in them the hearing aids work good. The hearing aids do not give a gain more than 80 to 90 decibels. So if there is a severe or profound hearing loss, then in them the hearing aids usually do not function nicely. Otherwise, in any hearing loss, be it conductive or be it sensorineural hearing loss, if the external ear, the pinna, the external auditory canal is good, then we can go for a normal conventional hearing aid. A normal conventional hearing aid can be either an air conduction hearing aid, or it can be a bone conduction hearing aid, or it can be cross. What is cross? Cross is contralateral routing of signals. What is this? We will just see in some time. The air conduction hearing aids come in various styles. They can be just a behind the ear hearing aid, or it can be a in the canal hearing aid. It can be a completely in the canal where it is very small hearing aid, and it has various parts. The parts are the microphone. The microphone will pick up the sound and it will convert it into electrical impulses. So what it does, it picks the sound and converts to electrical impulses. The other part is what is the amplifier, and as the name, what amplifier does is it amplifies the electrical impulses. And it sends it to the receiver. What the receiver does is it converts the electrical impulses back to sound. And now this is the amplified sound. The sound which was picked up have been amplified, and now it is sent into the ear. be it conductive or sensorial hearing loss, it functions good. It replaces the loss that has occurred because of conductive or because of sensorial hearing loss. Now, what is a bone conduction hearing aid? Yes, bone conduction hearing aid. No, it is not Baha. Yes, I am talking about bone conduction hearing aid. I told you hearing aid can be the air conduction which is placed into the external ear, and it sends the sound. It picks up the sound, it amplifies it and sends the sound through the normal route as the air conduction pathway. What is the bone conduction hearing aid? Bone conduction hearing aid is something very similar like Baha, but it is not implanted. It is just placed here. So why not go for a Baha? Why go for a bone conduction hearing aid? Baha is invasive. Then why not just go for a bone conduction hearing aid? It is a hearing aid which is placed at the mastoid and it directly vibrates the skull. It directly stimulates the inner ear. So why go for an invasive surgery like Baha? This is, you can see a patient which has a atresia of the external ear, and in this patient what this device is a bone conduction hearing aid which is been fixed with the help of a headband. The advantage of Baha over a bone conduction hearing aid is that since it is placed inside in the bone directly, it gives an advantage of 15 decibel. 15 decibel advantage it has over bone conduction hearing aid. So advantage of 15 decibel Baha has over bone conduction hearing aid. Also, bone conduction hearing aid, to transmit the sound, it has to be very tightly attached, very tightly in contact with the bone here. That produces a lot of pressure over this area, and many of the patients are not able to tolerate that pressure. That is why then they prefer going for a Baha. So as you are seeing here, the bone conduction hearing aid can be worn in the form of a headband, like this, or in the form of a headband like this, or it can be worn in the form of like this. This is like a spectacle device or a band device. Now, what is a cross hearing aid? Yes, cross hearing aid, as I told you, is a contralateral routing of signals. Now, what is this? In patients in whom they have a unilateral deaf ear, one ear is completely deaf. Yes, unilateral deaf ear. What is the option that is there? Yes, many of the times patients will ask you that I have one side deaf, unilateral severe sensorial hearing loss. What are the options that I have for hearing rehabilitation? So in them, you can go for a Baha. Yes, if you put the Baha on this side, it will pick up the sound and it will stimulate both the cochlea. If they do not want to go for surgery, you can go for a bone conduction hearing aid. The bone conduction hearing aid will touch here, will put a pressure here, it will pick up the sound from this side and it will vibrate the skull. It will stimulate the other cochlea also. If by chance the person does not want to go for a bone conduction hearing aid, in that case what you can go for something which is known as cross contralateral routing of signals. What is that? In this, the patient will have to use the normal air conduction hearing aid device in both the ears. The ear which is the deaf ear, that side will just pick up the sound and it will transmit the sound through Bluetooth to the hearing aid which has been placed in the normal ear, and it will send the sound through the normal air conduction to the normal ear cochlea, and the localization of the sounds from the other side which is the deaf ear can also occur. So this is what is known as cross hearing aid. Now in this, what is done is, there are the devices something like a normal conventional hearing aid, but patient will have to use two air conduction hearing aid like device. One side which is the deaf ear, that will just collect the sound from this ear and it will through Bluetooth, it will send the vibrations to the impulses, the vibrations to the normal ear hearing aid. And this will now send the impulses that have been collected from the deaf ear to the normal ear. So now the normal ear will pick up also the sounds which are coming from the deaf ear. So now keep your pens down. Okay, sit straight. Okay, so now tell me, if there is any patient who has come to you who has hearing loss, conductive or sensorial hearing loss, and the external ear is normal, then what rehabilitation you can give? Yes, you can go for a hearing aid. You can go for a normal conventional hearing aid. Okay, if there is atresia of the external ear, congenital deformities of the external ear, what rehabilitation will you go for? Yes, then you can go for BAHA. You can go for bone anchored hearing aid. What rehabilitation will you go for whenever there is a defect in the organ of Corti defect? You can replace with cochlear implant. In organ of Corti defect, when you go for cochlear implant, should the nerve be functional? Yes or no? Yes. So if the nerve is also not functional, for example, if there is a mycaloplasia, can you go for cochlear implant? No. What will you go for then? In mycaloplasia, yes, you can go for brainstem implant. Also in patients in whom, for example, neurofibromatosis type 2 who have been operated for the same, there is bilateral loss of nerve or bilateral nerve aplasias. What rehabilitation can you go for? Yes, again brainstem implant. Where is the brainstem implant placed? Lateral recess of fourth ventricle. Where is the cochlear implant placed? Scala tympani. It is passed into the inner ear through round window. It replaces organ of Corti. It stimulates what? Yes, the nerve. What is cross hearing aid? Contralateral routing of signals. If there is a patient who has developed unilateral severe sensorial hearing loss, what are the options that you can give this patient? One ear is not functional. Yes, what can you go for? Yes, you can you go for cochlear implant? That is done for bilateral. What is the indication? Bilateral severe to profound hearing loss. Yes, so here in unilateral severe sensorial hearing loss, what can you go for? Yes, you can go for either a BAHA. Yes, you can go for a bone conduction hearing aid. You can also go for cross hearing aid. So that is what you need to know in hearing rehabilitation.